Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII is one of my personal favorite additions to Smash Bros thus far, but some would say that it seems pretty random for there to be two Final Fantasy VII representatives in the game, seeing as how the remake doesn't appear to be coming to Nintendo platforms in the near future. But if you ask my festively plump rump, I don't think that's going to be the case forever. So crack open a bag of horse chips, make sure you subscribe for games, goofs, and glory, and allow me, YouTube's best man, Cameron all one word, to tell you why the Final Fantasy VII remake's coming to the Nintendo Switch, eventually. Alright, so if you've seen my videos before, then you might have heard me say that graphical power means less now than ever before, and I stand by that, but at the same time, I'm no dummy, and I do realize that they do still matter to some extent, hence the whole Cyberpunk 69 fiasco on the PS4 and Xbone, and I'm sure that if Square Enix tried bringing the Final Fantasy VII remake over to the Switch, then it'd probably be an even bigger disaster than my last 4 marriages, so they definitely shouldn't hold the new episodes up and waste time trying to force it just so people can play the game portably after the first part stops being exclusive to Sony. You know what, we all know that Nintendo's eventually going to release a stronger Switch model sooner or later, and I don't think that Final Fantasy VII's in Smash Bros for nothing, so I think it's only a matter of time before we see the remake come to Nintendo. I know Cloud's been in Smash Bros ever since the Wii U and 3DS, and if that were it, then I wouldn't think too much of it, because his appearance in Ultimate definitely felt like Nintendo didn't want him there, seeing as how there's only 2 friggin' songs and 0 references to most of the other characters in the game. But seeing as how the whole selling point to Ultimate was that all the old characters would be coming back, it's not like they could have just left him out, though. I know Square Enix can be a pretty stingy company, and I'm sure that didn't help matters, but I've always felt like there was a little bit of heat from Nintendo's side for adding Cloud to Smash 4, only for the Final Fantasy VII remake to allegedly restart development and end up as a temporary exclusive to PlayStation like 5 years later. Granted, the game that we know today would have never properly ran on the Wii U, nor could it even run on the base Switch model for that matter, but a lot's changed since Cloud joined Smash 4, and for all we know, Square could have thought that Nintendo was working on a console that could actually handle the game before they restarted development, or that Nintendo thought that Square could have just kinda made it work on the Switch, but regardless of what the details were behind Cloud joining Smash in the first place though, the fact is that Nintendo and Square Enix seem to be getting along just fine these days, hence all the games that are on the Switch right now, including the original Final Fantasy VII, not to mention Hero being in Smash as well. But even so, I just can't accept that Sephiroth's joining the Smash roster for no real reason. Sure, Joker joining the game didn't lead to Persona 5 Royal coming to the Switch right away, but with Persona Qs 1 and 2 being on the 3DS, along with Strikers being on the Switch, I think it's only a matter of time, but I talk about that a lot on this channel, so I'm not going to open up that can of worms again right now. All I'm saying is that characters don't just join Smash for no reason if their franchises are currently active. Like, yeah, there aren't any big Castlevania or Banjo-Kazooie games coming to the Switch anytime soon, but even though Smash Bros has been known to resurrect franchises in the past, these games are also not coming out anywhere else either right now, so why not just go ahead and honor Simon, Richter, Banjo, and Kazooie given their history on Nintendo platforms? I mean, the idea of the original Final Fantasy VII coming to a Nintendo platform seemed pretty crazy for over a decade, and as we all know, that ended up happening, but the Final Fantasy VII Remake, on the other hand, made it abundantly clear right off the bat that it would in fact expand it on PlayStation platforms afterwards, so if Nintendo's buddy-buddy, not only with Square, but with Final Fantasy VII in particular, then the literal only thing holding the remake back is the lack of power on the Switch, which as of this recording doesn't officially have an upgraded Pro model on the horizon just yet, but not only are there assloads of rumors running rampant, but it also just kind of makes sense that there is going to be one. I mean, after all, when was the last time there was hardware that didn't get an upgraded model? The Wii U? Look how that turned out, you dingus. Sorry, I flew off the handle there. Normally it'd annoy people if there were a hardware upgrade with exclusive games that wouldn't work on the original model, but with the Switch, I'm pretty sure everyone just wants a damn upgrade at this point. I mean, most people love the Switch for all its first-party games, and all the definitive ports of games from older generations, but without any doubts whatsoever, the biggest flaw of the console is the lack of graphical power. Like, the games that were specifically made for the Switch always look great, but if the console were strong enough to support all the biggest third-party multiplats, then the system would be in an even bigger role than the one it's on right now. Obviously, most of the ports done by Panic Button are acceptable at the very least, but even though they do prove that miracles are possible on the Switch, most developers probably just don't feel like dealing with the hassle, so it seems like the only way to get most of these third-party multiplats on Nintendo's little hybrid that could would be with a hardware upgrade, and normally I try not to accept rumors as fact, but as far as the Switch Pro is concerned, these rumors are all over the place, and I just can't imagine that Nintendo's not well aware of the Switch's biggest flaw, and if they were to fix it with an upgraded hardware model, then I'd also be stunned if the Final Fantasy VII Remake didn't follow shortly afterwards. After all, it's been common knowledge for a long time that the game's going multiplat, so if there's hardware that's powerful enough to support it, then I'm sure that Square Enix wants Final Fantasy VII on there, and if the game's coming to the Switch Pro, then it makes all the sense in the world to add another representative to Smash Ultimate, especially one as awesome as Sephiroth, who I've literally waited years for since the Smash Bros franchise needs a few more villains if you ask me. So either the Final Fantasy VII remake's coming to Nintendo platforms at some point, or Nintendo's just adding characters that people want. But you know what, if there really is an upgraded Switch model on the horizon, then it would just go together with the Final Fantasy VII remake like bread and bull butter. But anyway, let me know what you think about the possibility of a Final Fantasy VII Remake coming to the Nintendo Switch in the comments below, and as always, I'll try my goddamnedest to respond to everybody at some point. That's all for today, though. If you liked this video, then you might also like my most recent video about why I'm standing firm in the belief that Persona 5 Royal's also coming to the Nintendo Switch at some point. But if you'll excuse me, I gotta go feed my stepson before he loses even more respect for me. See ya.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.